Hello and welcome to TALRadio, an initiative by Touch a Life Foundation. At TAL, we connect those who need to those who are willing to give. I'm your host, Sandy, and in today's podcast, we are joined by one such person. She's an incredible giver, a caretaker who has spent decades in serving and helping people. Today in this podcast, we are joined by the wonderful Debbie Cabebe, who is the Chief Executive Officer at MEO, Maui Economic Opportunity. Debbie started this incredible journey with MEO almost 24 years ago. She joined MEO in the year 2000 as a Chief Human Resource Officer, went on to become the Chief Operating Officer, and finally, in the year 2017, she was appointed as the CEO at MEO, that is Maui Economic Opportunity. Debbie, welcome to TAL Radio.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you. So, Debbie, I think I would like to start by asking why MEO? Like, how did this idea strike you that you wanted to do something, first of all, for the society, for your community, your city? But why MEO? There must be so many NGOs, so many organizations. Why did you choose this one?
Well, MEO has such a large footprint in our county. We're a tri-isle organization. So Maui County is made up of three islands, the island of Maui, the island of Molokai, and the island of Lanai. So we reach a very large population. And I think out of all of the nonprofits that operate in our county, MEO is the largest human service organization that has a very broad, diverse programs that really can help a lot of people. We probably assist almost 20,000 people every year throughout those three islands. And so the work is very rewarding, and their mission is to strengthen the community while helping people in need. And that is touches me at my core, something that's very important to me.
So I believe you probably had this instinct always that you wanted to give back to the society.
Uh, I never really thought about that, but as I get older and I look back, I mean, I always was kind of a helper. I was the oldest girl in my family, and so I helped my mother a lot with my younger sisters. And then, I was in Girl Scouts and I was a leader. And when I was in my choir, I was a leader. And I always sort of wanted to be the helper, the organizer. And so I guess it is sort of ingrained in me. And even in my church, I ended up taking a lot of leadership roles. So I don't know. And I think I've passed it on. My husband and I both, we've passed it on to our children. They're both very community minded as well. In fact, two of my daughters work for a nonprofit, but one of them is a regional director for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Maui.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's incredible to know. I think it runs in the genes, I can say that then. So, David, moving forward, can you just explain to us and our listeners and our audience what MEO does? Like, it has quite a number of verticals. What it really focuses upon, what it does.
Well, as I said, we're a human service organization, so we're a community action agency. We're one of about 1,000 community action agencies that operate throughout the United States. And we focus on anti-poverty programs, so programs that help people stabilize their lives and make their lives better. So at MEO, we operate our programs under 5 departments. So we have our transportation department, which is the largest department in our organization. We have about 100 vehicles in our fleet, and we transport over 3,000 individuals every year, about 300,000 rides that we provide. And we take people to doctors, to dialysis appointments, to social programs. We take them to nutrition programs, day health. The people that live in the rural areas of like Molokai and Hana, on Maui, and even in Lanai, we do shuttles that take them from the rural areas into the town so they can get, shop and do things like that, to go to the bank. And we do a lot of youth transportation. So when the children from middle school to high school get out of school, we take them to and from school to their after school activities so their parents don't have to take off and go pick them up. And so that really is a big benefit to our community. It keeps the kids busy, keeps the parents working. We run our other department is early childhood services, and we run 18 preschools for Head Start, which is for low-income children and families. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have one on Molokai and the rest, 17 are here on Maui. And then we also have an infant toddler center where we work with children from 1 to 3 years old so that their parents are able to go to school or go to work. And that's pretty close to my office in Wailuku. And then we have youth services where we help about over 1,000 youth a year from middle school to high school. And we teach them prevention type programs. So anti-bullying, underage drinking prevention, suicide prevention, teen pregnancy prevention. It's all evidence-based programs. We go into the schools and we have a curriculum that we, in the form of a comic book that makes it fun. And we go through and teach the curriculum. And then we have an out-of-school program where we do a lot of community service with the youth to teach them about giving back to their community. We also teach them about advocacy to make them aware about how legislation and laws affect them and what they can do to be involved. Then we have a youth leadership group that is, selected by the teens themselves. So it's a pretty amazing program. And then we just expanded that this last year to the island of Molokai. It was only on Maui. So thanks to some money from some federal appropriations and from our liquor commission funds, we were able to expand that to Molokai. And it's there's a pretty high rate of suicide on that island, so it's really very important. Yeah, it's such a rural area, and I think just not enough things to do, and so they have a little bit of a challenge with that. So I'm hoping that we can make a difference there. And then our other department is our community services department, which is it's not the highest funded department, but it has the most programs, and that's kind of our catch-all. So we help people who are getting out of prison to transition back into the community. We help them get jobs, help them maybe go through rehab if they need to finish rehab. We might help them clear all their fees and fines that are on their driving records so they can get their license back to get a job. We help them find a place to live. We also have a senior program. We help people get fresh fruits and vegetables. We have utility assistance, rental assistance, and we have about 1,000 senior citizens that operate under our Planning and Coordinating Council, and they are organized senior clubs that teach them about advocating for the senior population. So we work a lot with AARP on whatever their initiatives are to have our in Hawaii, we call them kupuna, so seniors, and we have them learning to advocate for things that will affect them. And then also we do a lot of social programs with them, socialization, fun things. So we do a big luncheon every summer called the Kupuna Aloha Luncheon, and there's about 800 people that attend, and they have prizes and entertainment and a really beautiful lunch thanks to the Grand Wailea Hotel. They give us a very generous discount so that it can be affordable for the kupuna to attend. So it's sort of their senior prom. They enjoy that. And then we have our business development center. So we do micro lending for small businesses. We focus a lot on women-owned businesses, minority businesses, and we also do a class called Core 4. It's a business training class, and we do credit repair and recovery. So again, all the programs are geared toward strengthening the community and helping low-income people stabilize their lives, learn how to advocate for themselves, and make changes in the community.
Oh, that's wonderful. In fact, when you were talking about all these vertical, all I could think of from from a toddler to an old person, you have it all covered in MEO. Mm-hmm. It's like all sorted as if But when you talk
Yeah,
about so many verticals, Debbie, which is the most challenging one to work with? Like, is it with the kids or with the elderly or with the teenagers or with the people who've just come out of prison, getting them back to society? Which is the most challenging one?
I think it depends on the day. um, I don't know. They all have their unique challenges. The work is daunting sometimes. The staff that we have at my organization, I mean, we have people that have been with us over 30 years. So people, they love the work, they love the people, they love that helping. And so even on those challenging days, when you look at the individuals that work for us and work together to support our community, it makes it all worth it.
That's wonderful to know that. So, Debbie, just like going a little forward, there are a lot of local NGOs also. So how does MEO collaborate with local NGO? Like, do you collaborate on certain levels, maybe like in primary levels or maybe, at a deeper level? And then like when you collaborate, like how do you divide that kind of a scenario or that kind of a work? Okay, I'm going to do this, you take care of this. So like that collaboration.
That's a great question. Actually, as a community action agency, that's one of the things that we're kind of charged with doing, that we are supposed to collaborate so that we're not duplicating efforts. So every 3 years, we do a in-depth needs assessment, community needs assessment, to determine if our programs are still relevant. Are they making an impact? Are there other programs that are are there other needs that are out there that nobody's addressing? And if there are, then we try to figure out a way to address them. But it also gives us an opportunity to do key informant kind of interviews with some of the community leaders that are running other programs to really get a good handle on what they're doing and figure out ways that we can partner with them. So we look for opportunities to complement what they're doing, not duplicate. And it's almost something that I think comes natural for us. I had some pretty incredible leaders running the organization before me that set a really good foundation. So there was a really good, kind of a template to follow. And you look at that and you're like, oh, okay, this is how it works. And I think because Maui is a small community, we're very close knit. So collaboration is something that comes very natural for us, I think, as a community. I know people that come from Honolulu, from the island of Oahu, which is, much bigger population. They're always impressed with the collaborative efforts of Maui organizations. We have a group called the Maui Nonprofit Directors Association, and I was the president for a couple of years and involved with that board for a very long time. And that was created specifically so that nonprofits had a vehicle to communicate with one another and to look for opportunities to collaborate. Many of us sit on boards, other nonprofit boards. So collaboration works in that way. During the, we were hit with the terrible wildfires back in August of last year, and it destroyed our town of Lahaina. It was devastating to our island and our economy. And it was a very old historic town. So there's been a tremendous amount of effort put into bringing groups together to collaborate, to figure out how we're going to recover from this. What is economic recovery going to look like? Making sure that the people that live in Lahaina are represented, but also business leaders, nonprofits, other groups come together and kind of work on a vision. I spent a day-long visioning session yesterday with some of the leaders at the college, University of Hawaii Maui College, working on some plans. There's so many other groups that have stood up. And then our state was very good with providing funds to provide emergency assistance. So we were able to connect with a lot of groups that stood up in response to the fires very organically, groups that had never really been formalized before. And we were able to provide them with some funding to pay people who were doing all this volunteer work so that they can support themselves. Our biggest challenge right now is there's a very serious shortage of housing because there were thousands of homes that were burnt down, and a lot of them in historical district and in special areas in that are need, because they were so old. Now if you build there, you need different kind of permitting to build because it's so close to the shoreline. So there's just a lot of challenges facing us, and we'll have done bounce back pretty well. Other people are still struggling, but until we can get our housing situation solved, it's going to continue to be a challenge.
All right. No, it must be a really big challenge. But when you were talking about all these things, I was just wondering, does the government also step up to help NGOs like MEO? Like what kind of help you must be knocking the doors also, every NGO does it. So what kind of help do they pitch in?
If people want to come and help us, like volunteer?
Yes, especially the government. I would say the state government.
Oh, the state government is, the state actually provides funding for our programs. The majority of our funding, about 67%, typically comes from our county government. So one of the things as a community action agency, when we do our needs assessment, we're supposed to identify local needs and find local resources to address those needs. So the county pays for much of the services we provide. The state pays for a portion and the federal government pays for a portion. And then we do, grants to private foundations. And then we also do fundraising to fill in those gaps, because a lot of times people don't want to pay for some of the administrative costs that are really necessary in order to make an organization as large as ours run.
True. So now talking about all this, let's come to some little happy stories. Some positive and happy stories, those smiles that MEO, has brought into people's life, their families.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure there must be many, but if we could have just a couple of them.
Yeah, so our Head Start program just ended their school year, and they do graduations for all of they call it parent parties, and they have the kids come and they do a little graduation, and to see these, 4-year-olds come in their little cap and gown, and they're so proud with their mom and their dad and their grandparents. And what I really love about Head Start is not only did that child leave with a good education, the parents also were strengthened because they have a family partnership agreement, and a lot of them maybe get their GED while their children are attending our school, or they might get a better job, or so they're in a better place. And we have this one teacher who I particularly love. Her name is Jennifer, and she had a career. She worked as a paralegal at a law firm, and then she came to MEO several years ago, and she was my assistant. She was my administrative assistant, and so she went back to school because she saw the need in our classroom for teachers, and she was really wanted to help. So she went back to school and got her degree in early childhood education, and she just finished her first year of teaching, and she was celebrating how much she really loved what she does. And she couldn't be a better advocate for our program. I'm so extremely proud of her. And what a great story to change your career in, the middle of your life, and then to be so happy doing it. So I think that's a really, really good story. And then I think the other one is we had our seniors, our seniors from Lahaina, the senior citizens, the Kupuna Club, they, many of them lost their homes. There's about 100 seniors in that club. About 39 of them lost their homes during the fires. And so they're living all over the island in different places right now because they don't have any place to stay. So some of them, FEMA, Red Cross, and some nonprofits have helped put them in rentals until we figure out how to rebuild wherever they were living. but they're scattered, so they don't have, and the place they used to meet burned down, so they meet now at our building in Wailuku, and we bus them in with our buses, and we had a luncheon, and they played bingo, and we recognized some of their leaders, and they're just, it's, you were saying, like, from the little ones to the elders, right?
Yes.
So it's the whole spectrum, and the same joy that those children had when they graduated, these kupuna have when they all get together to share a lunch and play bingo and just be together. So those are the fun things. Those are, if we could do that every day, those things, that would be a great job.
That's wonderful to know. That's very wonderful. I mean, I can see the happiness in your eyes.
Yeah.
Seriously, I can see that. So, okay, I think I'm not going to take a lot of time now. Something that I would really like to know, and I'm sure the audience would like to know, people who are watching right now, what is the vision for the next 3 to 5 years, if you can say, for MEO? What are you looking for?
Well, I'm trying to make, I'm kind of at the end of my career. I'm looking to retire in the next couple of years. My husband's a little older than I am, and he's already retired, and we want to enjoy our time together, and we have children and grandchildren. We want to visit and travel. And so my plan is to groom somebody who's ready to take over the organization, so that I have a nice warm handoff for that person. As I said, the people that came before me set a really good foundation. And because I was a Girl Scout, you always want to leave the place better than you found it. That's sort of a Girl Scout thing. So I want to make sure the agency is in a really solid, strong place, so that when I pass the torch, the next person is successful. And then we also are working on an affordable housing project. It's not a huge project, but for Maui, it's a pretty good size. It's 120 rental units for affordable. It's 60% to 80% of the area median income, which is pretty low income, but it also hits that middle class people. So some entry level teachers, firemen, and people like that would qualify. And it's very affordable rent. So a 1-bedroom in a non-subsidized housing will, right now they're paying over $2,000 a month, but this rental will cost about less than $600, and that would be inclusive of electricity and water. So that is what we're working on. It's going to go before our county council for first and second reading, probably in June, and then hopefully we can start moving forward. We have a partner that we work with. So we talked about partnerships. We had the land, and we did a community needs assessment and identified the need for affordable housing. This is before the fires, because we already had a housing shortage. So I approached one of our community partners who does housing, and I said, hey, we have land and you do housing, and can we do something? And he found a developer that was interested, and so we've been working toward this about almost 4 years. So hopefully it'll move forward. Yeah, it's a housing development in Hawaii, and Maui in particular is very challenging. There's so many rules and regulations and hoops to jump through, but it's needed.
Got it. And Debbie, before we let you go, if somebody wants to join, somebody wants to volunteer, what is the way to join MEO?
Well, you can come to our website at meoinc.org and click on employment opportunities, and they have a description of the job and what the pay is. We're recruiting all the time. We need teachers, we need teacher aides, we need drivers. And I always tell people, we believe in not only strengthening our community, but strengthening our employees. So many of our employees came in at entry-level positions, and then they worked their way up. We helped them obtain credentials and, experience so that they can move up within the organization. So really proud of that. I think it's a great company to work for. It feels like a family. But you do a lot of really good things that help your community at the same time.
True. I think, Debbie, with that having said, I would say When somebody really wants to do something, it's probably the will. And you probably had the will, so you've come this long way that you're about to retire also now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think we're going to wrap up with a very beautiful thing that, when you really want to give something to the society, let touch not be the barrier. Just work for it, just go forward for it. Your thoughts on it, Debbie?
No, I think you can do anything you set your mind to. I have a kind of a quote I used to share with my daughter when she was younger. She was kind of shy, and I said, "If you believe, you will achieve." And I believe that if you believe something can be done, you can do it.
Like half the battle won because
Yeah,
you believed in it.
yeah.
Really. Thank you so much. And we wish you all the best for your retirement years and certainly wishing MEO an amazing success ahead. A lot of success stories we would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so much for being on the show today. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Nice
thank you
talking.
for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye bye now.
So we had a wonderful conversation with the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Maui Economic Opportunity. Thank you so much for listening to TAL Radio. I'm your host, Sandy, and signing off for today. Stay tuned and stay happy.